Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It's Wednesday. We are rolling along. The work is over for the Buckeyes practice-wise. They have a walkthrough tomorrow. 2 good practices in the books after a very fiery Sunday film session. According to our people inside the Woody Hayes, it was not fun. And Bloody Tuesday's practice was very physical. That is great news for the offensive line. They need the physicality. The defense needs to work on their run fits. There's a lot of things they need to shore up over the next 2 weeks. Big test against Western Kentucky. Again, ignore the name of the school. Look at the production. Look at the quarterback. I think these guys are pretty decent. I think these guys would be middle of the road in the Big Ten. Dare to say it. I think they'd beat Rutgers. They'd probably beat Michigan State. This is a pretty decent team. They beat South Florida week 1. They put up a lot of points, a lot of yards. So good test for the secondary. Good test for the pass rush. And then the level jumps up about 5 notches when we head to South Bend. So we are going to break all that down for you. Break down the new Jim Knowles defense, the new philosophy, much different from last year. And break down some of the offensive stuff that we're seeing when Kyle McCord is in the game. We're going to break some film down. As always, I know you guys love that. So we appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please click that like button right there as so. Click subscribe. Click the little bell if you enjoy our live shows. Again, we love you guys joining us and chiming in, bringing the questions, bringing the heat. Comment, who do you think will have their stock raised the most from this week to the end of the season? Again, there's a lot of great candidates: Trey Henderson, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, Denzel Burke. Donnie Jackson has to play a lot better. There's a lot of good guys that they're kind of buy low. Hopefully they'll catch the wave and start playing better. So who are your candidates? Maybe give a guy on offense, a guy on defense. That'd be fantastic. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I saw Fort Lauderdale, I saw Miami, saw Vegas, I saw California, everywhere. We appreciate all you guys tuning in from everywhere. My Southern Ohio boys down in Portsmouth, appreciate you guys as well. Canton, Ohio, Columbus, Ohio is always New Albany. Appreciate all you guys tuning in with us. That being said, I'm going to get to my homeboy, my man, Nevada. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I've got a sneaking suspicion the Buckeyes may come out with a little bit more intensity than we've seen the last couple of weeks. That's just a hunch, but I think I got pretty good information on this. I think Day's turning up the spigot a little bit on them, seeing how they respond. And based upon how practice has been this week, I think they're going to respond quite well. And I expect a big effort, but a spirited effort on Saturday. So can't wait to get to it.
Yeah, some of these boys need to go out and eat their Wheaties before the game, get ready to roll and start mashing some guys. There's some guys that, frankly, have been disappointing. I've watched both games multiple times. I've charted the games. There's guys that have a lot of talent that aren't playing like it, and they need to start leveling up a little bit. This is going to be a big week. Again, Western Kentucky is going to score. They can score on most teams. I think that they're going to be a great test. They can throw it. They've got NFL talent at quarterback and at receiver, so it's going to be very interesting to see what these guys can do. Defensively, they're giving up a lot of yards on the ground. I think we'll be able to mash them. I should be able to bash them. But I'm just excited to see the progression. I think that naming Kyle McCord the full-time starter is a nice way to, I guess, kind of calm the team down a little bit. There's less anxiety as to who's going in, who's going out. I think that it's better for Kyle mentally to know that now he is the guy. I don't think we'll see Devin at all this game, or we might see him maybe late or sprinkle him in one drive, but there's not going to be like as much of a set rotation as there has been the last 2 games. So I'm really excited to see what can he do. Again, I've seen guys win the quarterback battle and they don't hang on to it. Joe Bauserman, Braxton Miller, Justin Zwick, Troy Smith. I've seen guys, in 05 when Troy was suspended, Justin was the starter again, and Troy took the job right back after we lost to Texas. So, again, I've seen, obviously the Cardell JT thing was a debacle in 15 where JT probably should have been the guy the whole way, but Cardell came back after winning the national title. They went with him. He went undefeated, but he didn't play well, so they benched him for JT. Again, just because you're named the starter, now you got to play like a starter. So it's going to be real interesting. Nevada, what do you expect from Kyle McCord and this offense? Do we take a step? Obviously, Kyle has great chemistry with Marvin. The pass protection has been very good, above average. The run blocking has been average to below average. What do you expect out of this offense at quarterback and offensive line going forward, starting with this week versus Western Kentucky?
Well, I think Kyle's going to take another step, and I think the point you made earlier is a big one and really an underrated one, which is knowing that you're the guy and knowing that you don't have to be looking over your shoulder every time you throw a bad pass or, heaven forbid, have a bad series or whatever it might be. I think that's big for Kyle, and I think that's what we need right now. We need a little less chaos. We need a little bit more stability there at the quarterback position. So, Dave, going to that right now, I think, obviously that's a widely anticipated move, but the right move. And for the OSU offense, look, there's nowhere to spin it. Western Kentucky's bad against the run, so we should
Yeah.
gack them against the run. And if we don't, then that's an issue. And as you said, our pass protection's been really good through 2 games. I expect it to continue to be good. I think we'll be able to have our way with Western Kentucky on the ground. So I'm expecting a big, effort all the way around. Um, the big question for me is how many times is Western Kentucky going to be able to score against us? Because they can throw it. They can throw it, and our defense, the good thing is our defense knows it. They know what they're getting into. This isn't a surprise. This isn't Indiana changing to a triple option approach, and we're like sketching stuff on a napkin, trying to get ready to figure out how to make stops. We know exactly what Western Kentucky's going to do, and they're going to do it well, and they're going to do it over and over and over again. So for Ohio State, great challenge on defense, great opportunity on offense, and I really expect a big effort from the boys, and specifically from McCord. I think McCord's going to take another step and have a really solid day, and hopefully use that as a springboard into South Bend.
Yeah, I agree. I know that there were some feelings hurt in the Woody Hayes on Sunday during film session. I know that the offensive line got lit up pretty good. Usually when that happens, it's because crap's rolling downhill. So I think Ryan Day is disappointed in some levels of the offense. And, when you get yelled at by Ryan Day as a position coach, that rolls downhill and then it rolls down to the players. I've been a coach in that situation. I've graded film with Urban Meyer sitting there in a game where the line didn't play well, and me and Ed Warner got taken to task pretty good. And we're going to get those guys reared up, ready to go. I think Justin Fry and Mike Salini are in that position right now where the guys, they got to get them going. I mean, these guys have got to play better. They've been pass blocking good against guys that frankly couldn't pass block my German Shepherd or pass rush my German Shepherd. But we're not getting a lot of push. Our hands aren't great on offense on the line. Our combination blocks are not great. So Tuesday, a big emphasis was combination blocks, coming off the rock on guys, working up to the second level, not leaving it too early, getting the hands right. Again, the biggest problem on the offensive line now is just our hands in the running game. I mean, we're getting defensive tackles are putting their hands in our guys' chest. Our hands are too wide. It's getting us in issues where we're having holding calls. We're playing with no power. Guys that are really powerful aren't playing like it because the offensive line is all about your feet and your hands. If you have great footwork and no hands, you're screwed, and vice versa, you're screwed. You got to put it all together. And if you miss out with your hands, you have to refit them and get them inside, and we're not doing that well enough. And that's why we're not getting the push we want in the run game. Our combination blocks, guys are leaving too early. We're not getting the amount of press and movement on the first level. Guys are too obsessed with getting to the second level. So again, I think that when you have one of those brutal film sessions when you're not playing well, a lot of these guys have a lot of pride. Again, I've been on 0-4. We stunk on the O-line for the first 6 games, and we picked it up the last half of the season, but we got lit up pretty good in film when we weren't playing well. I mean, about the only guy that was playing good consistently was Nick Mangold, who is an All-American Hall of Fame level center. The rest of us got it pretty good. So I'm really excited to see what this line can do. Again, I think that they've played below average for what their talent is, and they have to ramp it up. And there's a lot of new guys, but guess what? At Ohio State, that doesn't matter. Nobody cares. You don't get mulligans. Nobody cares. Oh, you're just a young guy. Like once you're out there, and you got to play to the standard. And the standard over the last 4 or 5 years since Greg Studoir was there is really high. Because I mean, if you look at that 2021 line when we started our 4 tackles, which a lot of stupid, idiotic people on the beat said was dumb. 4 of those guys were first-team All-Americans, and the other guy's Luke Whippler, who just made the Cleveland Browns. So, Paris has raised the level. Dewan raised the level. Thayer, Nick Petit. We've had really good O-line play around here, and those guys are all in the league now. So guess what? These guys got to step up a little bit. Nevada, do you buy we were talking offline about, people say, oh, you have to upgrade the talent in the room. You got to do whatever. And I was like, Deion Sanders went to Colorado, which is one of the worst teams in college football last year, and he brought like 60 guys in from the portal, and they're really, really good right now. Now, granted, some of those guys are his son and Travis Hunter, who's the best player in the entire country, But do you buy that you get like 5 years to build a room and recruit your guys? Because I think that's a total cop out and a total sham. Just because in modern college football, when you take a room over, that's your room and those are your guys. And bad coaches complain about bad players, and good coaches coach them up and make them better. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think the idea that it takes years to build any type of a room when you're at Ohio State, given the realities of the portal, is just 1973 type of thinking. It's not reflective of what's going on, in the day and age, the modern age of college football. The reality is that you've got 118 other schools or whatever the heck it is that are basically farm teams for Ohio State with on-demand, instantaneous free agency available to you. And you've got this incredible package to be able to recruit them with from facilities, from tradition, from NIL, from national exposure, from national championships to big time television. All these things that you can offer these guys. So if you are a position coach and you've been here more than 1 year and you don't have the kind of room that you want, that is a you problem. That is 100% a you problem. So if there's any complaining or anything else like that, man, it shouldn't flow downhill. It should stop with the position coach because that is their responsibility. That is their job. There's no excuses. And so when people make excuses for them, I just throw my hands up because I'm just like, what are you talking about, guy? It's like, let's talk about the offensive line. If the offensive line isn't up to snuff right now, that's Justin Fry. Like there's no other way to put it. That's Justin Fry. He's got to either develop the guys that he has or he's got to attract the guys that he wants. But he doesn't have to wait 3 years to go recruit high school juniors and he can go out and pick 4 new guys from the portal and get them in and recruit them and do the job. And if he can't do that, well, that's his problem. Somehow Deion Sanders, and it's more than just his kid and Travis Hunter. I mean, like he's been able to recruit an entire team that went out there and has beat two pretty decent teams. And Colorado wasn't beating anybody last year. So the fact that he's been able to do that that's Coach Prime recruiting to Colorado, which is not in the same galaxy as Ohio State in terms of college football. And so we can talk all about his charisma and wow, he's got the Aflac commercials and he's this and that. But man, you've got Ohio State. If you can't sell Ohio State and you can't get the guys that you want, man, that's on the position coach, and the position coaches have got to accept that. So I'm just I still believe in this offensive line. I don't believe for a second that we do not have the sufficient talent to run the play. And I think that we're going to look at this throughout the year, and they're going to get steadily better and steadily better and steadily better. I've said this many times before, but in 2014, after 2 games, nobody was looking at that offensive line and going, man, this offensive line's good. Wow, this offensive line, boy, these guys look like they're future NFL players or future all-time greats at Ohio State. After 2 games, everybody was convinced that that offensive line was a complete and utter disaster and dumpster fire. And I think we're not even close to being in a situation like that. I think they'll take a big step this forward against Western Kentucky because it's really it's only run blocking. It's not pass blocking's been good. Let's get the run blocking going. Let's clean some things up and let's go into South Bend and let's kick the Irish and let's move on through the season. But I haven't given up at all. But the beginning and end of my rant, Justin Fry, do your job, man. I mean, Urban Meyer, if Urban Meyer was sitting there talking to you, he'd be like, shut up and go coach your guys up. And that's exactly what he'd say to you because that's what he has said to you. In the era of the portal, it's shut up, go get the guys you want and coach the guys you have up. So no excuses on the position coach, do your job. End of rant.
Yeah, Urban was great because I mean, he got there after 2011, and I was a part of a coaching staff that was literally the worst in Ohio State history. We lost 7. We were at 6-7. So people complain when we don't look great against Youngstown State. I'm like, dude, 2011 we lost 7 games. I mean, that was out of 13. I mean, that's terrible. And Urban showed up like a hurricane, and man, I'm telling you, one of his first edicts was, there's no such thing as bad players, just bad coaches. And he didn't say the word bad. He said the S word, which we're not going to say because I'm not trying to get demonetized on YouTube. And he said it a lot more graphically than that. And I agreed with him. I was like, you know what? That's a great mentality. It's like, crappy coaches complain about their players. Otherwise you better go catch them up because you can't. Back then there was no portals. You couldn't go out and get new kids fresh. Now there's 2 portal cycles where post the season and then post spring ball, you have 2 crops where you can go get them. And again, I would, if I'm recruiting this line group, I'm like, look, do you want to be a great tackle? Yes. Do you want to go to the NFL? Yes. Well, look at the tackles we just said. Nick Petit Frere and Thayer both made active rosters, both made $1 million each of the last years. Nick's starting right tackle. Thayer started some games for the Raiders. And then you level jump higher. Paris Johnson, 6 overall pick. DeJuan Jones, starting right tackle for the Browns. Like, what do you want? Do you want to go to the league? Do you want to get developed? Do you want an NFL style strength program with Mickey Marotti? Do you want the best training, the best everything? Like, come to Ohio State. Like, that's what kills me is I'm like, I don't know why guys like Brandon Baker, I'm like, dude, like, where else would you want to go? I mean, we're developing guys. They're going to the league. They're breaking records. They're getting huge signing bonuses. Like, it's the land of opportunity right now on the depth chart. But, I think that the line is going to take a step. They have to, because otherwise Ryan's going to be inside their booties. Because again, it's not fun when you're the underperforming unit on either side of the ball in general. And that was something like when I worked with Ed Warner, it was like we were crazy about it. We were going to make sure that we weren't going to have the eye of Sauron on us. We got a super chat, Raymond. Appreciate you, my man. Will we ever see, Nevada, I'm going to ask you, will we ever see a 10-sack game like we did against Iowa in 2005? What a game that was. What a great memory. Bringing that up. Nevada, will we ever see that again?
Will we ever see that again this year, or will we ever see that again at some point in the future?
I don't know. We don't get 10 sacks in half a season right now. I mean, so I can't imagine getting it in one game, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's going to be a long time until we see that, but that's a great memory. I consider myself kind of a quasi OSU historian, and I remember every game because I've watched every game since I was 15 years old or whatever it is. But I had even forgotten about that. Boy, that was a good one. No, but I think we're going to see. I don't know when we're going to see that again, but I think we're going to see more sacks this week than we've seen all year, and I think. Look, Knowles by nature wants to be aggressive, and he wants to bring guys. And if anything, he's trying to dial it back and trying to dial back his inborn aggression to kind of reflect the talent and kind of the advantages that he has at Ohio State. So I'm not sure to ever turn it loose like that, but boy, that would be great. It would be a great time to how about 10 sacks this year up in Ann Arbor? That would be that'd be a great day, wouldn't it?
That'd be about a minus million on the money line to get that one. Yeah, it'd be amazing. I remember that game vividly because we got absolutely waxed in 2004 in Iowa City. That was my first career start. I'll never forget that. It's like you always dream of being a Buckeye as a little kid, and then you dream of starting your first game as a little kid. And then we go to Iowa City, and frankly, we sucked. We were terrible on offense. Troy wasn't playing yet. We go up there. It was like 10 degrees, freezing cold. On TV, it didn't look cold, but at the game, it was freezing. And I remember I was blocking a guy named Matt Roth, who was a really good player, second-round pick to the Dolphins. And I was blocking him really well. Like, he was a really good player, but I was handling him. Like, he really wasn't – I didn't think he was much. And I'm telling you, like, we just get behind. And it was like one of those games where it was like an avalanche. It was like the Clemson game in 16 where we lost. It was just like a couple things start going wrong, and then all of a sudden it's – 28 or whatever, 31. It was like 31-0. And I remember they pulled me and Mike Nee, and they put in TJ Downing and Tim Schafer to like close the game out because they just, again, they were in full evaluation mode of everybody. And I'll never forget, I had handled Roth pretty much the whole game. They put Tim Schafer in at the end of the game, and he goes against Roth, and Roth literally like picks him up off his feet and like throws him into Troy Smith. Like he was like a 150-pound, like 8th grader. And I remember watching that, and I was on the sideline. I'm just like, I told you he was good. I was just blocking him. Like, I was a lot stronger than Schafer was, but Schafer got launched into the dude. And I was like, I remember watching that on film, and I was like, you probably don't want to take me out anymore. But that was just me being whatever. But he was, like I said, that was the hardest year of defensive ends ever when this was in 04, because I saw like 6 first-round picks as a freshman. So after that year, it was kind of a cakewalk. But I don't think we'll ever see 10 sacks in a game again because I think that teams get rid of the ball too quick. That '05 game was our revenge game where we were all older. Like our O line was veteran and good, and all of their good seniors, like Jonathan Babineau, who played like 12 years in the league, he was gone. Roth was gone. They had all these guys that were seniors that were all gone. So then the next year they had all freshmen, and we were all the old guys, and we beat the tar out of them. And I remember Drew Tate like lost his mind and took a personal foul because he a taunting or an unsportsmanlike as he got sacked so many times. Like, I mean, he was holding on to the ball and Bobby was killing him and Kudla was killing him and AJ Hawk was killing him. And it was just like the sweetest revenge because we got absolutely slaughtered in Iowa City. So, we had that one circled and we whooped them that year. And then we went back to Iowa City in '06 and beat them again. Another super chat. Appreciate these super chats, guys. If you have a question that you're dying to get answered, a super chat automatically gets answered, goes right to the top. Oh, Larry Daniels, toughest guy you had to block, college or NFL, and can the Bucs make the playoffs this year? Well, Nevada, I don't think you can really answer this one. I mean, Mario Williams was a freak. He was the number one overall pick. This guy had to go against an '04. Lamar Woodley was good. Tom Bahal-Lee was good. Will Smith's probably the best guy I had to block. I went against him as a freshman, and he was obviously a first-round pick, captain, All-American. Will was fantastic. So probably him in the league. I went against Justin Smith in practice every day over the 49ers, and he's probably the most underrated player in NFL history because he was the strongest human being I've ever gone against in anything. He was like an anvil. He got drafted by the Bengals, was like the 4th pick in the draft. And he didn't have the massive statistics like a Myles Garrett type pass rusher, but when you went against him, man, I mean, it was just like, I was a real strong guy and he was just a different level. Like he was like the end game final boss of strong. And like he went against Kyle Kozier, who was a guard for the Cowboys, and bull rushed him. Kyle's foot got caught in the turf and he literally snapped his leg in half because that's how powerful Justin was. I mean, it was grotesque, and I was like, glad that wasn't me. But yeah, I'd say Justin Smith is up there. Can the Bucs make the playoffs? Absolutely, they can make the playoffs. I mean, again, you got to look at this year's college football slate. Who's the best team in college right now? Is it Texas, Georgia, Florida State? Like, I don't see like some team that I'm like, oh my God, if we play them, we have no chance. Like, there isn't like a 2019 LSU team. There isn't like some dominator out there where I'm just like, oh my God, we'd be up against it. Maybe USC. I mean, they stink on defense, but they've got great skill and with Branch and Caleb Williams. But Nevada, what are your thoughts? Can we make the playoffs? And who do you think are the best teams in college this year?
Well, we should make the playoffs. I mean, we're going. I've been of the opinion. I know people are worried about the schedule. I've heard that a lot of times, and I'm just like, look, the game at South Bend is absolutely a winnable game. In fact, if we don't win that game, we'll be favored in the game at South Bend. We're going to Wisconsin. Isn't Wisconsin circa 2003? This is not the old Wisconsin teams. So we got that. Then we've got Penn State. Penn State's won twice in Columbus in 30 years. So I'm not really that worried about Penn State. Good team, but they don't play well in the stadium. And then you got Michigan. So do I think we'll make the playoff? Yeah, I do think we'll make the playoff. I think we should make the playoff. I think this is a team that can do well in the playoff. And as you said, the best teams all have flaws. Every team that's in college football right now has flaws. There's a lot of reasons for that. People talked about NIL kind of distributing some of the talent, taking some of the guys away, put into schools that are more relevant on the national landscape. And so it's kind of diluted the talent a little bit. And maybe there's some truth to that. But the reality is this year's wide open. Like you said, there's no monster out there. There's no Baba Yaga that you just don't want to play. And Ohio State's just going to get better. I mean, this is the worst version of Ohio State that you'll see was last week because we're only going to get better from here. Every position group is going to get better. Quarterback, we're going to get better. Offensive line, we're going to get better. Defense, we're going to get better. And you say, well, everybody gets better. Yeah, but we've got a huge learning curve because we've got some young, inexperienced guys at key spots. And the only thing that can make those guys better is time and repetition and game experience. And they're getting that in abundance now. And I expect to see the improvement crank up pretty quickly. And I expect that at the end of the year, Ohio State's going to be one of the last teams standing.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I really couldn't agree more just because I think that, you look at the spots where we're frankly inexperienced. Quarterback obviously is the most important position in team sports. Our tackles are pretty new. Josh Fryer, this is start number 3. Our left tackle, he had a bunch of starts at a school that doesn't matter, and so he's on start number 3 coming up as well. Carson Hinsman didn't play at all last year. He's on start number 3. So, your tackles and your centers are the kind of the linchpins of your line, and they're inexperienced, and Kyle McCord's inexperienced. So I think that those guys are going to get a lot better. I think that guys like Sonny Styles is really, he's the age of a true freshman. So, I mean, it's like having a true freshman playing CM linebacker. And I think that he's going to get a lot better. He's a guy that frankly didn't play a great game last game. He had the big hit, but he was out leveraged multiple times. He got yanked once, which again, he's an 18-year-old. So you expect him to make some of these mistakes. You expect sometimes these guys freelance. Again, the one thing I love about Jim Knowles is that if these guys ever do freelance, he holds them accountable. He does not let these guys not be gap sound. He will, if you want to freelance under Jim Knowles, man, you're going to be standing next to him watching the game. You might as well just put a baseball cap on, because poor Malik Hartford started the game as a true freshman, rocking and rolling, and after like 3 plays, missed a couple assignments, and he was out. And it was Jahad Carter time. So, they did that with Josh Proctor last year. And honestly, what I was told from people inside the WHAs is like Mike Hall, as great as he is, a big reason why he got yanked and didn't play as much last year is he wasn't gap sound. And same with Ty Leak. Like some of these guys, like if you want to be cute, if you want to take these way out, if you want to try to freelance and go make a play and not do your assignment, you're going to watch. So you might as well just go get a bag of popcorn and a hot dog and put some sunglasses on, because you ain't going to be going to the game under Jim Knowles, which is good. Because again, that's not being a big meanie. That's just, when you want to play sound, if you're going to be good on defense, you better be sound. You better be gap sound. You better run to the ball. You better take up pursuit angles. And he stresses that. And again, you see it coming together. And the guys that are, kind of encompassed in what he likes to do, like Tommy Eichenberg, they're flourishing. They're really doing a good job. I mean, I honestly think our DNs are actually playing well. They don't have any sacks. Everyone's obsessed with sacks, but they're playing the run great. They're fitting great. They're sacrificing themselves on some of these stunts. Like, again, everybody wants to say, oh, well, they don't have as many sacks as Chase Young or Nick Bosa or Joey Bosa, but, that'll come. Again, they've probably had like 10 opportunities in 2 games to truly rush the passer when it wasn't a quick game, wasn't a screen, it wasn't a swing pass, a draw, whatever. Like, so, how many real pass rush opportunities did he have? Not many. So I think this will be a chance to change the narrative, which I think they will. Anything else, Nevada? We got a couple questions in here. What are you looking for this week? Like, what would be a positive step to you versus Western Kentucky? Obviously, Knowles, he's spoken at length about how he doesn't need to kind of gin it up as much. He doesn't have to be as much cloak and dagger. He doesn't have to do sneak attacks, like he did at Oklahoma State, because when you get the nuclear bomb, you don't need to do that. You can just drop the bomb. So he's got the players, AKA the bomb. And I think that, he's realizing that, and he doesn't have to try to go crazy to try to stay in the game. Like a lot of teams do. Like a lot of teams, if you're not as good as the team you're going against, you have to do a lot of crazy stuff to just try to wreak havoc and create turnovers. And when you do that, sometimes you get scorched, but when you have better players than these guys, if you just play sound fundamental defense, the guys play hard, then it's going to be game over. What would be a successful weekend for you offensively and defensively in Nevada?
Well, I'd say we're talking about aspirational goals. I want 300 yards rushing. I know that sounds crazy, but that's what I want: 300 yards on the ground. I want 5 sacks defensively, and I want to hold them under 21 points. That to me, those would be 3. Really, that would be a good. That's a good performance. That's a winning performance. That's a solid performance. That's a step in the right direction, and that's what I'm looking for.
All right, we got another super chat. Appreciate you, Brian, on this one. This is a great question. I'm a little confused by this. He said, how come Michigan's D-line looks like 21 Georgia, but the OSU D-line, it looks like a disappointment? I have watched Michigan. I do not think they're anywhere near 21 Georgia. I think 21 Georgia could have been the best defensive line in college history. I mean, when you go back and look at the guys they had, they had Jalen Carter was a backup, and they had the big guy, 88 in the middle. They had the first overall pick at the one end. They had Nolan Smith at the other end. I mean, that was a pretty serious front. I don't think Michigan's smelling that, but I don't know. Like, I don't think our D line. To me, they're not. Again, when you're giving up 5 points a game, I'm not disappointed. Again, I know people are obsessed with stats, but when you play teams that want to run the ball and get out of there and not get ran out of the building, like, you're not going to get as many opportunities as you'd like. But the guys are playing hard. Again, Jim Knowles he's rotated a bunch of guys in last week. I really like the pass rush package that they run a lot of simulated pressures out of that has Caden Curry next to JT Tuimoloau at defensive tackle, and then they also have Mike Hall next to Jack Sawyer, and then they walk up Tommy and Steele. Like, I think that's a great package. It's tough to pick up when you're in pass protection, especially against empty. So, I think that, doing stuff that makes life hard on the offensive line is good defensively, and we're doing a lot of that stuff right now, which, and some of it, I think they're just trying to get it on tape because they want Notre Dame to have to rep all these wacky looks. So they're running some stuff that, if it works, they might run it against Notre Dame. I'm sure they're always going to save stuff for Notre Dame, obviously, because I'm sure that they've been game planning for them. But Nevada, your thoughts on the Michigan? Do you think that their D line looks that great? I mean, I don't think they compare to 21 Georgia. And that was an all time.
You're talking about Wyatt and other guys like that on the line. No. I mean, look, I actually like our defensive line a lot. I like the fact that the back, when you go to, Hamilton and McKenzie and Canoe and Curry and Jackson, I mean, we're actually getting production out of second guys as well. And that's not always the case. A lot of times you might have a great front, first four, but then after that, it really, takes a dump off of that. And I think that all the guys on the defensive line are playing good, playing at a high level. And I'm not nearly as down on the defensive line as, like, I guess most people are, and I'm not nearly as high on the Michigan line. I mean, I've watched Michigan play. I think their offensive line's really good. I didn't think that their defensive line was really anything else. I saw an interesting stat though that somebody had put it up on the board, and I think Ohio State's like number one in passing yards in the Big Ten so far this year, which is kind of stunning when you think about it in terms of I think a lot of times we're our own worst critics, and familiarity breeds contempt. We watch the Buckeyes so carefully, we pick nits on every little thing that do it, and when you see somebody else, I always say it's like, and I'm a hockey guy, and I always say it's like with goalies. The more you watch a goalie, the more you pick them apart because you see what they don't do right instead of just seeing the things that they do right. And I think the same thing with the Buckeyes. I think a lot of times we're so, all of us are so passionate about Ohio State that we watch what they do so carefully that a lot of times it's easier to focus on things they do wrong than the things that they do right, which are really abundant. And I think so. As your team has the makings of being a terrific team. I think all the pieces are in place. We're just young and inexperienced, like you said, at key spots, at quarterback, offensive tackle, center. And, once those things start to shore up, man, watch out. I think the sky's the limit of this team because you've got the foundation for a really good defense. You've got solid kicking. And I think once the offense kind of catches up, they're going to be able to play with anybody. That's just my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I mean, I think that and this is I'll watch Kenneth Grant. I appreciate you, Brian. I'll pull out some tape of him. Again, I don't think there's anyone on Michigan that is particularly fearsome. But like I said, I think our D line. I wouldn't trade our D line for anybody's. And I mean, people can call me a homer. I don't care. But go ask NFL scouts about JT, Mike Hall, Tyreek. I think that they're deep. I think that they're good. They're starting to roll guys in. I think Caden Curry is coming along really well. I think Jack, he's going to, I just think Jack is going to explode one of these games, and you're going to say, okay, this is what we're finally waiting on. I found a play, because I did say I'd break a play down. One of my favorite plays in the arsenal, and what happens to be Nevadabuck's absolute favorite play in the world, is this play right here. So, again, this is easy money, and this is something this is 4x1. So you got your four eligible receivers up here. 1, 2, ineligible here because they're both on the line. Or no, excuse me, not ineligible. But you got your 3x1 here, and then you've got your swing guy right here, Trey. And this is something we're doing, and this is like just such easy money, free access, because this is impossible for, when this guy's in man coverage, and you got Trey here, and you're running a screen, and you can get Carson Hinsman, who's a young athletic center. He can get him up here to kind of hook this guy. Like, this is the same thing as we run that little toss into the sideline, and I think that play's terrible. But when you run it like this, and it's like a little flare pass, I mean, this is what we need to do with Trey Henderson 5 times a game. Get him out here. I mean, it's just grass just everywhere. And and Carson does a great job getting on his guy. Trey gets to get up to speed. I wish Carson would finish there, but even still, this is 10 yards of just free money. And again, Trey, I mean, they started doing this more. And again, this is a play where you really don't have to block anybody. I mean, you one hitch, gone, and then you guys are releasing downfield. Frankly, like if I was coaching this, I'd just tell him to throw. Just go cut the guy. Go blow his knees out. That's what I would do. I'd say, hey, go put your helmet right through his ACL, because these guys don't even wear knee pads anymore. But I love that play. Nevada, I know you love screens. I know you love flare passes. I just like to get Trey out in space, because I think that's where he's dominant. And frankly, that's where he's terrifying. But your thoughts on getting Trey more involved in the passing game?
Well, I think it's absolutely a must, and that goes for Trey, that goes for Chip, that goes for Mayan, that goes for Evan, that goes for Dallin. They've got to get any of the running backs involved in the passing game, and it's so easy. If you want to calm down a young quarterback, let him throw the screen pass. The Packers threw the screen pass probably 6 times against the Bears, and I think Love completed 5 of the 6. They're all for big yards. They're so elegantly simple to run, and like you said, look, we want to get Trey out in space. Every running back looks great in space. There's not a running back in the world that doesn't look good in space. But Trey Henderson, like you said, is terrifying in space, because once he gets up to speed, he's one of those rarer athletes that is an absolute threat to take it the whole way every time he touches the ball. And if we're not taking advantage of that, I'm thinking about his biggest plays at Ohio State, like his first touch ever at Ohio State. I think was that swing pass against Minnesota for the touchdown. I think he caught a swing pass up at Michigan the first year when we lost, and that was for a touchdown on a 4th down. I mean, every time they get the ball out to him, good things happen. Yet I'm trying to think about how many times we've done that and bad things have happened, and I can't think of once. So it's like, you've got a play that only good things happen, sometimes goes for touchdowns, always goes for big yards, and you don't just keep running it. I don't understand. I mean, even in Madden, when you get a good play, when you get peak zone funky or something like that, and you're running it and the other defense can't stop it, what do? You keep running the play. And I'm not saying that, dude, but if you ran the screen pass more effectively at Ohio State, just more frequently, what you would do too is you slow down the pass rush. So it's playing blackjack, where what happened previously affects what's happening in the future. Well, running screen passes slows down the pass rush, which makes your passing game more effective. So it's like win, 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 win. And so yeah, when I see that, it does my heart good, and I'm glad you broke that one down, because that was my favorite offensive play of the day.
Yeah, I just think he's like that, like Bijan, he's like Jahmyr Gibbs, those guys, you put them out in space. Again, nothing drives me more crazy than when you have a guy like Jahmyr Gibbs and you run him in the A gap, like he's Derrick Henry. And I'm like, that's not optimizing that guy. Like, you want to get that guy out in space, and we run this little short side, our little short side stretch play, usually to the short side of the field. If you're on the right hash, you run it to the right. And, a lot of times, man, we leave the force defender unblocked. The force defender is the corner. So, the play, go back and watch the play where Trey hurdled that corner. We literally don't have a blocker for that guy. So he's going to come up and run support and, put his helmet through Trey's knee, and Trey has to jump over him. And frankly, I hate plays like that. I hate plays where a guy's got a kill shot, because if he's a decent corner, he's probably going to get Trey out, or at least rally the guys to the ball, the rest of the defense. But, with that little flare screen, I mean, Carson Hinsman is the only guy that really had to get a block there, and it turns into 10 yards, and again, that's something where, the pass rush slows down. Those guys have to retrace and go chase that down. It's tiring, frankly. And again, I just love when you have a young quarterback like Kyle McCord, who's a new guy, get him some easy completions. Let him pad his stats a little bit, because that's 10 free yards on a pass that I could throw, and you just let Trey go do the work. Because again, when you got guys like Trey, you don't have to do some sort of magnificent, timing route, 7-step drop with a hitch. It's just literally catch the ball, one tick, and flare it out to Trey and let him go do his thing. Because again, once he gets the ball in space and he gets up to sixth gear real fast. When he's at sixth gear, nobody can really catch him, and he cuts back or he runs a guy over, man. It's just energizing to the team. Well, we're going to wrap this thing up, Nevada. Any final thoughts as we march towards Western Kentucky?
I think Ohio State's going to play at a different level this weekend. I think Ohio State's going to play with a different level of juice, a different level of intensity. I think Ryan Day's going to the whip, and good teams and good coaches, the coaches know when to go to it, because you can't whip the horse every week. You can't do that because they stop responding. But he's showing them, he's whipping them a little bit, and in the future he's just gonna have to show them the whip. It's kind of like Seabiscuit or something like that. But he's definitely showing them the whip this week. He wants to see what type of response he gets. I think it's going to be a good one based upon the practices. I think we're gonna have a really good effort on Saturday, and can't wait for Western Kentucky. Going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I'm so much with you. So we'll wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always, guys and girls. Thank you guys so much. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also check on that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate all you guys in here kicking it. We appreciate the super chats. Super chats always get answered. So if you have a question that you're dying to know, send us a super chat. We appreciate all those as always. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, I want to hear who is the player on offense, who's your player on defense that is going to have their stock rise the most from now until the end of the season. There's some guys that are starting off hot. Denzel Burke, Tommy Eichenberg. Do guys catch them? Are there guys that rise above them? I want to hear your thoughts. So write that down in the comments for me. And also comment where you guys are watching from. Shout out where you guys are watching from. I love when you guys do that. I always read all these comments, and it's always fun seeing where you guys are watching from. So we appreciate you guys so much. If you guys want the best experience for Ohio State football, BuckeyeScoop.com needs to be your new home. Our message board is absolutely bonkers right now. It's crazy. I'm about to go jump on it right now and knock out some posts and read what some of our subscribers are bringing. So great board, great people, the best Ohio State football experience that there is. So if you guys want a great companion to your football season, BuckeyeScoop.com needs to be your home. So we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.